This man never imagined that a single accident would completely change his life. Jack had entered a maze that had long since been picked clean. At best, he expected to find a few scraps others had missed, but deep inside the maze, he stumbled upon a hidden cave that wasn't marked on any map. At first, he thought his luck had finally turned, but the moment he stepped inside, he realized the truth: a massive dragon was waiting there. As someone who had been stuck in the bronze rank for years, Jack knew exactly how overwhelming the power gap was. Before he could even think of resisting, the dragon swallowed him whole. Strangely, though, his consciousness didn't fade with his body. After drifting through chaos, it reassembled once more. When he opened his eyes again, he was completely stunned. He had become the lowest form of the undead, a skeleton. Nothing was left of him but a bare frame of bones. At first, he thought his life was completely over, but to his surprise, he discovered that he could still use the skills he had mastered as a human. Even more shocking, every time he defeated a monster, his attributes increased slightly, and once those gains accumulated enough, he could trigger evolution. That discovery felt like a ray of light. It meant he might not only return to being human, but even break through his limits and become a mithril-ranked adventurer on par with a dragon. But once the excitement faded, confusion quickly set in. The dragon that had turned him into a skeleton was nowhere to be found. So where was he supposed to go now? With no direction, he began wandering aimlessly through the maze. Fortunately, this was a low-level dungeon. After all the treasures were taken, almost no one came here anymore. But that also meant the maze was crawling with low-tier monsters that no one bothered to clear. Jack planned to find a quiet corner and lie low for a while. Instead, he was targeted by a strangely behaving skeleton. The creature's entire body twitched violently, as if it were having a seizure, yet its eyes were filled with pure aggression. Jack tightened his grip on his sword and assumed a fighting stance, but when he actually tried to attack, he realized how clumsy a body without flesh could be. He barely managed to lift the sword to swing, only to be dragged down by its weight and fall flat on the ground. Just as the skeleton lunged at him, it tripped as well. What shocked Jack even more was that after breaking its leg, the skeleton calmly reattached the bone right in front of him. Taking advantage of the moment, Jack quickly thought of a new way to fight. With a single thought, a familiar power surged through his skeletal frame. By the time the skeleton finished repairing itself, Jack's attributes had skyrocketed under the boost of his inner energy. Combining that power with his weapon, he shattered the enemy's skull in a single strike, ending the fight completely. Before he could even catch his breath, the fallen skeleton dissolved into countless points of light that rushed straight into his body. Immediately after, he felt his inner energy recover, and even his bones felt lighter. This strange sensation reminded him of something a scholar once said: humans grow only through repeated training, but monsters evolve through time and battle. There were even cases of skeletons evolving into ghouls. If he could evolve into a ghoul, could he disguise himself as a human just by wearing clothes? That thought reignited his hope. From that moment on, he stopped avoiding fights and began actively hunting monsters in the maze. Most of the creatures on the upper levels were skeletons and slimes about as strong as he was. In just one day, his strength returned to the level he had as a human. What surprised him even more was that aside from inner energy, he could also use the magic he had learned in his human life. He could even wield the sacred seventh power that specifically countered the undead. These three forces were things he had trained for 10 years without success, yet now, he could use them effortlessly. Days passed, how many, he couldn't tell. After slaying countless monsters, he finally reached a turning point. When he killed a slime and absorbed its light, his power suddenly erupted. His attributes skyrocketed, and flesh began forming over his bare skeleton. Based on the scholar's records, he knew exactly what this meant. He had evolved into a ghoul. Still, he was not yet the same as a human. With a physical body once more, Jack immediately